It is episode 482. I've been having technical issues lately. What is that a sign about? I'm trying new software. So I tried it last on Monday. As you could hear, you couldn't really hear me. And now I'm trying a new one. So here we go. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's topic is navigating a divided world, protecting your sobriety and faith amidst political and social changes. So here we are. How are you taking care of your sobriety? How are you self-caring? How are you doing that right now? If you are one of my listeners that is sober or trying to get sober, how are you doing that? How are you taking care of yourself? I can tell you this. What is the important thing is when you walk into a situation which you don't know what it's going to be like. Because let's face it, there are a lot of situations we walk into, especially with family. Family is like my big buzz thing. Family is always the hardest for me as a human being. I don't know if you agree with that for yourself, but for me, it is like so hard. I remember when I was first getting sober and I had to go to a holiday. It was because I got sober in August. So that holiday season, I was so nervous about how I was going to handle the holiday. I thought, what is this going to be like? Oh my gosh, I'm not drinking. How am I going to handle when somebody says something that might hurt my feelings? How am I going to do it? And what were my tools? And my tools were really small at that point. Like, I'm going to call somebody. I got to go. The kids need to go home or whatever it was. I had a lot of excuses to get me out of there. Fast forward, 2 years ago when my mom passed away, it's for me personally, it's a really hard place for me to go. So I had to have a plan, and I called my fellow traveler and I said, what should I do? And she said, unless you have an army with you, I don't think you can handle it. I think getting into situations where people criticize you, where people insult you, where people know what, like those buzz points that you have in your body, they know those places to get you. They know if I touch this, ding, it's going to get a reaction out of you. And not having that reaction takes so much patience. It takes so much tolerance. It takes deep breathing. It takes having a partner there with you, a friend with you, a dear friend with you, a fellow traveler on your adventures in life, whatever you want to call them, but having somebody there that has your back no matter what, that has the ability to say to you, you know what, let's go. We got to go. We got to get out of here. This isn't comfortable. We have to maintain, especially if our goal is to be sober, that without a doubt, that is what we want. We don't care what gets in our way. We will do whatever it takes to stay sober because we have to remain sober for us to have an okay life. Because I know that the disease of alcoholism wants to kill you. So you have to have a plan on how you're going to attack different events, how you're going to attack different social situations, family dinners, coffees. How are you going to take care of those events? How are you going to protect yourself? What are your boundaries? I know for myself, I never had a boundary growing up. So I had to figure out what boundaries were at the age of, 37. And they're still not perfect here at almost 56. So it's constant work in progress. But taking the time to go, you know what? I have to figure out what's important for me and how am I going to get there? How am I going to get what I want at the end, which is staying sober? How am I going to maintain my peace and my serenity when I know around me I'm going to feel like I'm in a war zone and the bullets are words? The machinery, the noise is from people that you love or people that love people that you love. How do you navigate that? By staying close to a friend, by literally having somebody that's got your back. It's like your own private militia, but the person isn't paid. No, you find somebody that you love and you can trust if you can and say, do you got me? And hopefully the person's got you. Because people can be mean. People can be cruel. I can be mean. I can be cruel. I don't want to be, but it's my stuff inside of me that I don't feel comfortable with. I can't accept certain things. So I'm the one that's uncomfortable. I'm the one that wants to act out. I'm the one that does all the things. Nobody else. It's me. How do you take care of you if you've never done it? I know for a long time, I raised my kids, and I spent many years, raising kids, which I'm sure if you're listening, you have too, especially if they're older, or you're raising kids now, or you're not even a woman and you don't have kids. But, you spend a lot of time and effort raising these kids and making sure everybody's perfect and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then when things change and they grow up and they do their own things and it has really nothing to do with you and you don't really count that much, it's painful. It's painful. And we live in such a chaotic and crazy world where things that used to add up like 2 plus 2, doesn't equal 4 right now. At least for me. This is for me. Maybe not for you, but for me. And how do you find God when you feel like there's nothing that makes sense and you are struggling and you feel so powerless? And you feel so just out of it, and you feel just like life is just so hard right now, and you don't know what to do. How do you manage that? How do you manage that when it's so hard? How do you manage that? It's God, right? It's God. That's the only thing that works for me, is having a God and knowing that God is there. And for me, you all of you that have been, by the way, if you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Chance, host of Busy Living Sober. If you are back again and again and again, thank you for supporting me and thank you for listening. And I love you so much, all of you people that are out there. I can't even tell you, and I hope to one day meet you all. And if you want to come to my retreat in February, let me know. Not to digress. But how do you find God in these turbulent times of where 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4? How do you get to a place where everything is okay for the moment? So you can get moments in the day, maybe not long periods of time, but just glimmers of hope. How do you do that? It's with God, right? I'm using, again, this new software and it's doing weird things. How do you do it with God? How do you find God, especially if you've never had God? And my relationship personally with God has changed so dramatically from when I was young to now, today at 55. After being in Medjugorje, it was unbelievable. I saw things there that I've never seen in my life. I mean, as a child, I went to church and it was, obviously for me, it was all about the dog and pony show. I didn't really understand what church was about as a child. Let's be honest. I knew it was a place I had to go to. I didn't really want to go. I thought it was kind of scary given, Jesus Christ is there on a cross with his hands nailed to the cross, and his head's got thorns in it and there's blood. And that's really scary as a kid. So I didn't understand it at all. To today, but not understanding. I'm doing this class, Alpha. I mentioned it last week, ALPHA, and it's done by a British gentleman who used to be an attorney, a barrister, and now he said he thought God was boring and it wasn't good. And then he met people that were really happy, and somebody said, well, they're Christians, and he's like, oh, I will never be a Christian. And the reality is that he became a Christian, and now he's sharing with us the importance of God. And having this today has been my spiritual journey from getting sober to today has been so amazing. It's been so rewarding. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have it. I know that God has a plan. I remember when I was a kid, I'm going to the Catholic Church and all that. And then, you get to your 20s and my crazy drinking and whatever, all the crazy decisions I've made in my life and all those things that were really scary and that I couldn't accept until probably now at 55, after lots of work on myself and talking to a lot of people, feeling better about that. But, when I got to my middle ages, the 20s and then 30s, I was having kids. And then the stuff scuttlebutt went down with the Catholic Church. I got sober. There was God in, AA, but there wasn't I didn't go to an actual building. I did go to an actual building actually before that. Just before that, I became an Episcopalian. And I went in high Episcopal, so the difference between that and Catholic is it's fleeting. You sometimes need to get something that's smaller than a millimeter to decipher the real difference, especially if Mary's present, which she is in the church I go to. But my religion has changed so much, and I've lost a lot of friends to death. I've lost a lot of friends due to what's going on politically. I've lost family with what's going on politically. I've lost, it's all been so interesting. It's been we live in such a polarized world. That's the bottom line. We live in a world, and my husband just said this to me, I, on my personal page, political page, I share stuff, and then Democrat friends respond, and I don't respond to them. I just delete their comments. And some of them I'm just why do you keep coming on my page and trying to sell me what you're selling me, the political party you want me to buy, and I don't want to buy it. And they keep doing it. I don't understand why the people don't respect me and say, you know what, she doesn't like this. Why am I putting this on her page? I would never go to somebody's page and go, I'm going to post I don't like who you're voting for and why, It's none of my business. You get to do you, but there is no respect anywhere anymore. Police aren't respected. Presidential, candidates, no matter which one, aren't respected. And that's on me too, by the way. God is everything or he is nothing. And you think back to what went on in Jesus's life and what he dealt with and what feelings he must have had and how much he went through. The feelings, and Mary, his mom, what she had, the feelings she had to have had, because they walked on this planet. There's no joke. I mean, they walked on earth. And so knowing that they walked on earth and had these experiences, and God died for us. And now when you die, you can go to heaven. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart. But we live in a time when it's it's literally dark against light, dark against light, dark against light. And I, for one, I don't understand the woke culture. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand a parent saying to a child, oh, you want this and I'm going to make it happen. You don't want to be a boy anymore. You want to be a girl. I don't understand that. I'm being totally honest here, guys. I don't understand a parent saying, oh, okay. I mean, kids are kids. They want something for 1 minute and then 2 minutes later they want something else. If I felt for everything that my kids or my parents actually felt for everything that I wanted, what would I have turned out to be? I can't even imagine. If I got everything I wanted, every whim I wanted, my parents made happen, I can't imagine. And today it's all about your whim being more important than making everybody feel comfortable. Right? This woke stuff is it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. And maybe call me old fashioned, maybe call me an old lady, maybe call me whatever you want to call me. But, growing up, having a relationship with your grandparents, having to go to the holidays with your cousins and older aunts and uncles. And being a kid, you don't really get it, right? You're like, oh, I have to go see these people. We have to get dressed up and we have to act good and we have to go to the table and we have to be the best we can be, da, 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 da. And we do that. And then we become adults ourselves. And a lot of those aunts and uncles are gone. Our parents are sometimes gone. And we don't get the opportunity to have those people around that actually showed us what it was like to live in a different time when things were a little bit different. when parents went to cocktail parties with people that all were different. Your neighbor across the street might have voted differently than you, but you were still friends with them. You still shared a lawnmower. You still was when it was started to snow, you all went out and shoveled together. That doesn't happen anymore. It's okay to say hateful things. And I've been the one that's been saying it to people that are, I'm like deleting all these comments from people that are like, I don't like what you said. And they da 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 da. And I have to sit back and go, okay, that's what you don't like, but I like it. Can I like what I like? I love God. And some people are offended by that. But is that on me or on them? Like, I truly believe from the bottom of my whole soul, like, when I was in Medjugorje, and I went there just because I said yes, right? Somebody asked me and I said yes, instead of going to the fear, which I normally would have done and been like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. I mean, I have an upcoming trip I'm supposed to take, which I'm very scared about. But when it came to this Medjugorje, I wasn't scared. And my dear friend, Amanda, who's wiser than I am, and I called her and said, I got invited to Medjugorje. And she goes, well, when you get invited to Medjugorje, you know the Blessed Mother wants you there. Mary, Jesus' mother, wants me there. And I packed up my bags and I went. And it wasn't anything that I expected. I was, the people on my trip, some were nice, some weren't that nice, some were cold, some weren't cold. It was whatever they did, whatever. They were human. That's what they were. Some were like, now you're going to become a Catholic again. Well, whatever. That's a whole nother story. But what I saw as a woman, as an American woman who's been married, who's been divorced, who's been remarried, who has stepkids, who has kids, who have kids that some haven't spoken to me in years, after trying to do the best I could do. But there it's like old school. Like everybody goes to church and they're all dressed up and they look like $1 million. They're baptizing their babies. And it's simple. There isn't like the shame looking, sorry about my, blah, blah, blah. There aren't shopping centers that look the same everywhere you go. There aren't the same stores you see everywhere you go. Like everything's a little different. There is no Amazon in Medjugorje, which is in Bosnia, Herzegovina, above Croatia. None of that's there. It's quieter. People believe. People have joy. It's kind of like the barrister that started Alpha. It's like people are smiling. They're into their Catholicism. They're into going to church. They couldn't think of ever going more than a month and doing confession. And there is such a simple kindness about that I don't see anymore. I was just traveling in New York, and it wasn't like the New York I grew up with. It's changed considerably. And some would say it changed for the better. And I can say, I don't know if it's for better or for worse. It's totally different. Most people on the train, I would say half or more, were on their phones or they weren't really looking around. Like I was staring, of course, at all the different people because that's what I am. I'm a voyeur and I love to watch people. Today, there's this computer that you just put in your hand and everything becomes about what's going on in this alter universe that's not where you are right now. It's like somebody else's life you're watching or somebody else's news feed or somebody else's. And we go to watch it. I don't know. Do we go to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok to feel better? Or do we go just because we can't have the thoughts in our heads by ourselves? Why? What's stopping us? From just being quiet? What's stopping us from praying? What's stopping us from letting go? Is it our ego? Which I love the acronym for ego, which is easing God out. Is it our ego? Is it the darkness that we all carry, the sinner of us that does it? What is it? That we can't get to this place where we can just sit and pray for the right word, to give credit to God, to say thank you, to have gratitude for the gifts that we all have. I know for me, being an American, I feel so grateful. I feel so grateful for all of the things we have that most people would just like couldn't even imagine. The people in Bosnia, they could never imagine having all this stuff. And it's made us a little soft. It's made us a little, we're so involved in the money and 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 the money. There's no God if it's all about money. Our money used to say, "In God we trust." Maybe it's not going to say that anymore. I have no idea. I wouldn't be shocked if that went away too. But we're living in a time where your financial situation is more important than anything else. We listen to, or at least the media wants us to listen to what actors think, like Jennifer Aniston or Taylor Swift. I should listen to their political views because we have so much in common. I don't know if either of them believe in God or what they believe in, and it's none of my business. I know that they have a good singing voice as being Taylor Swift, I think, maybe. I'm not really one of her fans, and Jennifer Aniston, I know I loved her on Friends, and I've loved her on the morning show, and I've loved her on different things, but I don't care who she votes for. Her checkbook is totally different than mine. Her way she grew up was probably totally different than mine, way of growing up. What her morals are and what she finds are important are different than mine. Why isn't it okay today to say this is what I believe, and for you to say this is what you believe, and not call each other names, and not harass somebody's Facebook page constantly with the back and forth? I think this, you shouldn't think that. And it's like, you know what? You do you, boo-boo. You know, Henry taught me that term, you do you, boo-boo. I don't even know how many years ago. I guess we could go back and listen on the podcast and see how long ago it was. But however long ago it was, it's so true, right? Isn't it? It's like you do you. I'm going to do me and you do you. If we come together on something, great. But I'm going to do me and you do you, boo-boo. But since when do we have to convince everybody? Why do we have to have everybody like us? You know, I always wanted that when I was younger. I'm like, everybody has to like me. I want everybody to like me. Not everybody's ever going to like me. Not everybody's going to like you. Unless you have no opinion. Then they might think you're boring. Just kidding. Just kidding. But really, you know, if we have an opinion, it's okay if it's different than your friends. It's okay if it's different than mine. You know, I've had a lot of people stop listening to me because of my beliefs. And I get it. And I was going to go to something, but I'm not going to do it. I just thought about it. No, don't go there, Elizabeth. You know, people get to do what they want to do. People get to believe what they want to believe. People get choices. We all have choices. And we have the abilities to be nice or to be mean. I think that I have a problem with just not understanding where we are today in the world. I don't understand, you know, just all the dramatic changes that have happened since, and you know, my husband said to me today, I said, do you think this is all happening because of COVID? He's like, it's not because of COVID. It was going on. If it wasn't COVID, it would have been something else. And he said, you know, he said, something else would have transpired because it's been generational. This change that's going on. We used to have to go to church all the time. Now we don't have to go to church all the time. Now we go to soccer practice or we play football. We do something like that. But so my big question is, can we go back to the way it was? Can we go back to having respect for each other's neighbors? Can we have the America that our forefathers wanted? Can we? I don't know. Is there too much water under the bridge? Is it so? I mean, I can tell you the energy from down here in Florida up to New York is like, it's like you're on two different universes. And I'm not like oblivious to things because I'm sober, so I notice everything. And my husband said, now you say stuff about it, but which I might do. But getting to this place, like, can we go back to the way it was? Can we go back to people going to church all the time? Can we go back to having school children that go to all different religions, especially in the public schools, where the teacher just teaches you math, English, social studies, and science? Like, you learn history of America and it's not been watered down to be something else. Is that ever going to go, like, are we ever going to talk about that again? Like George Washington crossing the Delaware, is that going to be talked about again? The Civil War, is that going to be talked about again? Is everything going to be rewritten? Like, it's interesting to me that the Bible is over 2,000 years old. And it's been translated in more languages. It's been, it's the biggest, longest published book ever. And the stories in there, it's never really changed. So can America go back to what it was? Is it really, are we at the foundation still the same? Or have we really changed a lot? Can we go back to loving our neighbors as ourselves? Can we go back to that? Can we go back to being boys are boys, girls are girls, and there might be a sprinkling of people that decide that they don't like their sex? Can we go back to loving each other unconditionally? Can we go back to, like, at least respecting each other? Can we go back to being in a Christian country? I don't know how much, whatever. Can we go back to having in God we trust? Where is God for you today? Do you believe God died on the cross for you? Do you believe that? Do you believe you're going to go to heaven? Do you believe in heaven? I'm going to finish up with this story again about Medjugorje because it's I'm always thinking about the Blessed Mother. And I carry, I'm just going to show you guys this really quick. So I carry around my rosary from my trip for almost 6 months now from Mo and Al. They gave me this rosary, and I say it all the time. Look at how messed up it's getting. It's so messed up. But anyway, it's still together. I can if anything happens, I think I can re-thread it and put it back together. But I also have this Nadine before she died, or when she passed away. Somebody gave me this scarf that was hers, and when I was in Medjugorje, they have a statue of Jesus, and it's, I don't know, it's 6 feet tall. Like 18, 20, 36 feet tall. I don't know. It's huge. And Jesus's right leg weeps. And I mean by, like, water comes out of his leg, and it's always, and even it was warm. It was warm, like his leg was warm, and it was raining, and it was April, showers bring May flowers, right? And I took this scarf and I wiped his leg, and I carry it with me everywhere I go. And when I was there, Ann Vucek, who's been on the podcast before, actually was telling a story about one of the visionaries that sees Mary and the gentleman. And I've told this story before, but she said, I said, what do you mean she sees a visionary? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? And she said, it means like Mary comes down and literally, and they've done tests on the visionaries to make sure, like, and their pulses. I mean, it was the Vatican just came out and acknowledged that this is truly what happens. And it's absolutely amazing. It is absolutely amazing that Mary comes to these six people. And when the gentleman, and I said, okay, so Mary's there, and the gentleman is looking at Mary, and he kind of looks behind her to see what's going on behind her, like we would do because we're curious humans. And there were people. So that was all I needed to believe that there's heaven. So if you're out there and you're struggling and you're feeling like 2 + 2, it isn't equaling 4, and your sobriety has you up and down and everything, find your faith. Find a relationship with God somehow, because it will change everything. Your life will change dramatically. And as we say sometimes in my little secret club, fake it till you make it. Try it. It can't hurt you. I promise you it can't hurt you. You guys, that's enough for me this Wednesday. Again, it's episode 482. I hope you enjoyed it. Please reach out to me with any questions, concerns, anything. And you can reach me at elizabeth@elizabethchance.com. And that's with a Z. And Chance is just like you hear it, CHANCE. Or elizabethlchance@gmail.com. You can find all of this on my website, busylivingsober.com, BUSY, livingsober.com. And if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, it will come right into your inbox every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Again, if you liked it, please subscribe. And until next time, keep getting busy, living sober. Bye, everybody.